I thought we started really well. I thought we were competitive. I thought we played with energy in the first 5 minutes. And then, when they kind of went on their first run, it kind of deflated us a little bit, which I'm not really sure why. But the offense, I think, for us, it starts on defense. And we, struggled, scouting report wise. We struggled personnel. We struggled to do what the coaches asked of us. And then, overall, we just played with more energy and effort, and those are the things that just can't happen.
When your coach dismisses the entire team following a crushing defeat, what do you do? Stephanie White simply accomplished just that after the Fever's crushing defeat by the Valkyries, 82-61. This loss was no ordinary one.
We have to talk about Stephanie White getting in the presser and actually going off on the Indiana Fever. But it's something about it, man, because although, yeah, I get it, she was talking about the players, and I understand that because she was right, she also need to take a little bit of accountability on her own as well.
For the second time this season, they were completely destroyed by an expansion club. The worst aspect was Caitlin Clark's victorious comeback from her injury. The Fever had just defeated Napheesa Collier and the Minnesota Lynx, as well as A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces. White made coaching choices that left commentators perplexed. As a packed Gainbridge Fieldhouse watched in shock, she then blamed everyone but herself during the news conference held after the game. Everyone is wondering if this is the kind of leadership the Fever need.
Caitlin, you've had career high school, college, pro. You never were really injured before and had to sit out. Now it's been twice. How do you mentally go through that part besides the physical rehab while you were sitting out? How did you cope with it at home and killing time?
It's honestly been hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It's difficult, going to prepare for games, but knowing you're not going to be playing in them, and I think just reminding myself of, my abilities and what I've been able to do in this league, even though I've been sitting out, and, just trying to be a great teammate, be a great leader, even though I've been on the bench, and serve my teammates in that way.
If you believe Coach Stephanie White is at blame, please let us know in the comments section below. Come on, imagine this. The Fever were the world's best team just last week, displaying their maiden Commissioner Cup trophy. The group had established their individuality and rhythm. They made one of the finest players in the league appear unimpressive by completely dominating A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces. They then proved they could compete with anyone by outplaying Napheesa Collier and the Minnesota Lynx.
I think it's given me great perspective on what other people have gone through their career, and like you said, I've been fortunate enough to never really been injured, and I play a lot of minutes usually, so I think it gives me good perspective, not only for people that are injured, but some of your teammates that may not be getting the minutes that they want to get, and I think I can use that experience to be a better leader, to be a better teammate, but also it's challenged me mentally. I think it's really hard to stop and go, and especially when you're not feeling your best. So just trying to get my body as healthy as I can be and remain confident in myself, and then do everything I can once I step back out on the court to help us win.
The future appeared to be promising. The chemistry was working well. Everything was coming together. Then July 9th arrived. There was supposed to be a celebration when Caitlin Clark returned from her groin injury. She had missed the Commissioner's Cup championship game, which her team won without her, and 5 other games due to injury.
Bentley lays that one in. Look at the attack, how quickly up the floor. And Clark hits a 3. The Fever
The level of anticipation was really high. With their star back on the floor, fans were eager to see what this team could do. Gainbridge Fieldhouse was crowded with fans anticipating pyrotechnics. Before tip-off, there was an electric vibe. Instead, they watch as an expansion club that shouldn't even be competitive yet destroys their team, 82-61.
It's every single person on our team, and nobody played well today, and you should look yourself in the mirror and find ways where you can get better, and come back to practice tomorrow and then play again on Friday.
While the Fever appeared disoriented and perplexed, the Golden State Valkyries appeared to be seasoned pros. The Valkyries had defeated the Fever twice this season, but the pain was different this time. This was meant to be their big moment, their coming home, and their chance to make a statement.
And I think collectively we didn't do a good job at taking away the stuff that their team likes to do and making them do things they don't want to do. We didn't do a good job of that. We also gave up some timely offensive rebounds that they do a great job of kicking it out, getting open looks, getting open threes late in the game. I think it really just comes down to effort and us not locking in mentally and following the scouting report.
Although the club only shot 31% from the field, Clark's return was intended to ignite the attack. Out of 27 three-point attempts, they only made 6. Their attack, which had functioned so smoothly during their championship run, appeared to be in disarray. The movement of the ball was slow. The bullets were not landing.
We have to talk about Stephanie White getting in the presser and actually going off on the Indiana Fever. But it's something about it, man, because although, yeah, I get it, she was talking about the players, and I understand that because she was right, she also need to take a little bit of accountability on her own as well.
No matter where you looked, the timing was off. In the second and fourth quarters, the team's cumulative score was just 19.19 points during the course of 2 complete basketball quarters. The Valkyries were able to get second and third chances at will because the Fever allowed 10 offensive rebounds in the second half alone. Every possession seemed difficult. It seemed difficult to make every defensive stop.
What did you like about Caitlin and Ari starting the game together and Lexi coming off the bench?
Yeah, I mean, I like the ability to have 2 primary ball handlers on the floor, particularly with a team that comes aggressively, in the 2-man game. Being able to play off of one another, being able to give the opponent some different looks, and quite frankly, for C specifically, not having to have her play under duress 94 feet the entire time she's on the floor. So there were some things that we liked about it. There are some things that we don't. So we'll continue to work with that.
Electric expectation gave way to startled silence throughout the arena. The disappointment that was circulating through the crowd was palpable. Those who had come to celebrate were seeing the disintegration of their team. After the game, Clark admitted to the difficulties, stating, "I thought we started really well. We seemed competitive to me. I believe we played with a lot of intensity for the first 5 minutes. But for some reason, when they kind of went on their first run, we kind of lost steam. It was more than just a poor game." Deeper issues were revealed by a total system failure.
Look, she can give her different looks. It could turn into something beautiful. I'm excited to see both of them on the floor together because they can create shots for one another. But it didn't happen today. So you should have made the adjustments once the offense looked so stagnant, looked so lost, discoordinated. You should have went ahead and changed that. All right? You should have changed it.
It appeared as though the team that had a strong winning streak the previous week had lost their basketball skills. However, the commencement of the blame game following the final bell was the real shock. FVID, this is the point at which things become extremely annoying. Everyone was left perplexed by Stephanie White's actions. One of the team's most reliable defenders and three-point shooters, Lexi Hull, was benched by her. For the majority of the season, Hull had been the starting player. She was the ideal match for Clark's fashion sense. She played lockdown defense and stretched the floor, but White ignored all of that.
So what happened? The Fever? Slow it down! They get into the beautiful motion offense we've all been in love with since the start of the season. Oh, pass, screen away. Oh, what a thing of beauty. Pass, screen away. Oh my goodness. Did you see how Kelsey Mitchell just set that screen? Mwah! Magnificent. And the Valkyrie, Natalie Nakase, and the crew, they said, oh, now's our time to strike. So over the remainder of the first quarter, the whole entire second quarter, after being up 20-11 with 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go, the Golden State Valkyrie proceed to go on a 30-12 run for the next 13 minutes.
During Clark's absence, she substituted Ari McDonald, the team's spark plug, at point guard. Clark was compelled to play small forward off the ball rather than in her natural position as a result. How can you prevent a player from a generation from playing the position in which she is most proficient? A point guard is Clark. That's where she works her magic. She has power over the game there. That was taken away from her by White.
I would say we can do better than the motion offense when Caitlin Clark's on the bench. We can utilize Kelsey. We can utilize AB. We can utilize Ari. We can do things. But no. No. Caitlin Clark was a decoy for many parts of this game. Majority of this game, dare I say. She didn't seem like a threat, other than when the ball is in her hands, which Stephanie White literally has a heart attack. He says, no, Caitlin, no. Too many assists, stop. Too much facilitating, cut it out.
The offense essentially stopped moving right away. The offense was clumsy, and Clark struggled to establish her flow. Coach Stephanie White was making Clark run around setting screens, even when she needed the ball to create for others. The two styles were completely out of sync. It appeared as though they hadn't even practiced this starting lineup, according to one commentator. Now, the success of this team had been greatly dependent on Hull. She gave Clark more driving lanes by adjusting the floor spacing. She kept opponents honest with her three-point shooting. She made a strong and trustworthy defense. When White placed her on the bench, everything vanished. In a single action, the squad lost its identity. The Fever's fresh squad struggled to find chemistry, while the Valkyries took advantage of every error. The movement of the ball vanished.
I was disappointed because I felt like there was a lack of competitive fire. With the exception of about 2 5-minute spurts. Our attention to detail was poor. I'm not sure if it's not knowing the game plan as much as, because if it's not knowing the game plan, then that's a whole nother conversation, as much as not executing the game.
The offense started to seem foreseeable. Instead of making open looks, players were shooting challenging shots. Everything that had been effective throughout their push for the championship was gone. Even worse, just when the team most needed Clark, her limited playing time was caused by White's rotations. Clark's first game following an injury was this one. On offense, the club was having trouble. The audience was growing agitated. White limited Clark's minutes on the floor, despite the fact that her presence was essential in starting something. The impetus died each time Clark sat down. The most painful thing was the lack of ball movement. The group was unable to create simple scoring chances in place of open looks for shooters like Hull and Mitchell. They depended on disputed shots. The offense that had been so effective only a few weeks prior appeared irreparably damaged. These changes weren't minor ones.
Our attention to detail, undisciplined. I felt like our energy and our competitive fire was not there, and that's disappointing.
I guess, why do you think you had some of these inconsistencies when it comes to focus and engagement, things like that?
I'd say discipline more so than focus. I think this is a group that focuses, but you can focus and then you have to be able to go out and be disciplined enough to execute it, right? I'm not sure. We're as coaches, that's our job to figure it out. Why it is. You've seen it in spurts, you've seen it in moments, you've seen it with certain lineups. So finding those lineups that we've seen it with consistently and maybe keeping those together.
These were significant adjustments that obliterated the team's identity. White benched one of their most dependable players, switched Clark out of position, and altered the starting lineup. The outcomes were a defeat against an expansion team by 19 points. However, White's post-match remarks would end up being far more detrimental than her tactical errors. Your entire perspective on leadership will be called into question by what transpired at that post-game news conference. Stephanie White made remarks that astounded both fans and commentators when she was manning the podium. She criticized her team for the heartbreaking loss while staring straight into the cameras.
It doesn't take much. There's other ways. But to give up your defensive presence just to mitigate that? Come on, man. To give up your defensive presence, Lexi Hull, somebody who hustles to get rebounds, right? Hustles to get the rebounds. She had like 7 to 8 rebounds. 7 to 8 rebounds, man. We're gonna look at the stats, but she was hustling.
White stated, "I was disappointed because I felt like there was a lack of competitive fire." She continued after that. She persisted in criticizing her team's work. "We didn't pay enough attention to details." For players who had just given it their all, these remarks were like a kick in the face. Here's the issue, though: she didn't bring up her own strategic shortcomings at all. Hull's benching carries no responsibility. There is no justification for the McDonald experiment, which was obviously unsuccessful. White pretended that the defeat was unrelated to her coaching choices. Except for herself, she blamed everyone. Clark, meanwhile, accepted accountability during her own interview. The offensive troubles were acknowledged by her. "To be honest," Clark stated, "I felt like we were off to a great start. The offensive, I believe, starts on defense, and we, struggled. Scouting report-wise, I thought we were competitive. We had trouble finding staff."
Our team, we have a lot of inconsistency. We raise to the occasion when we're playing for 30,000, and then we need to bring that level of focus and that level of energy every single day. It's really hard to win in this league, and I think, we need to focus every game because all of these games matter when September, October comes. So it's really just going to come to us, and we really need to regroup, turn the page, learn from this, and come with a better mindset on Friday.
We found it difficult to follow the coach's instructions. She accepted responsibility for the group's shortcomings. It was a sharp contrast. While the coach made accusations, the star players demonstrated maturity. Clark said that they found it difficult to fulfill the coach's requests. She placed the responsibility on no one else. She sought answers rather than justifications. White's remarks regarding ball movement appeared to be at odds with Clark's style of play, according to one commentator.
It has come down to this, y'all, and it's plain and simple. Caitlin Clark has to give the Indiana Fever an ultimatum. That's right. I've been disgusted all day about this piss poor, embarrassing performance from the players and most of all from this coaching staff. Stephanie White, I'll say it again, you are a pure bum of a coach.
Claria, her basketball philosophy does not suit Caitlin Clark, the analyst stated. This made it extremely doubtful that these two could collaborate effectively. This demonstrated a more profound conceptual conflict between Clark's organic style and White's strict structure. White wants to be in charge of everything. When Clark can create and adapt, she flourishes. These strategies are incompatible. I think the Fever are getting very close to having to make a choice, and that is like, do they want to choose Stephanie White or do they want to choose Caitlin Clark? Remarked an observer, who accurately summed it up.
As long as Stephanie White is here, we'll never see the true greatness that Caitlin Clark has within her. We'll never see it. Caitlin Clark has to march up to that front office and say, hey, look, either you guys are going to fix this and we're going to do it my way, or I will not put on this jersey and I will not allow you guys to profit off of me any longer. It's that simple. You want her or you want me? I'm going to pick the coach. I'm going to tell you what players I want on this team. Caitlin Clark has to put her foot down. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I have never seen someone fumble, just flat out fumble a golden goose like this. The WNBA has fumbled her. The Indiana Fever management, coaching staff, everybody has failed Caitlin Clark at every single turn. All of them.
Everyone is wondering how this team can win if the coach refuses to take responsibility for her errors. Here we are. Then, one of the Fever's most humiliating defeats of the season just occurred. The game of blame is already underway. This loss made every flaw in the current system clear. Ineffective coaching choices, a lack of responsibility, and a basic ignorance of the best ways to utilize generational talent. It was more than just a poor night. This was a thorough analysis of all the unique qualities that set this squad apart. Whether the Fever can recover is not the question. The question is whether they can succeed with Stephanie White still in charge. Just take a look at what this team managed to do last week. Asia Wilson and the Aces were subjugated by them. The Lynx was outplayed. Their first Commissioner's Cup victory came to them. When they played to their strengths, they achieved that accomplishment. During those victories, the offense clicked. Hall's three-point shooting served as the ideal complement. The paint was dominated by Boston.
I just feel like starting out this new combo, this new duo, who hasn't really had that much time to get into game reps. Game reps are nothing like practice reps. They are nothing like practice reps. You can go down the line in history and you will hear coaches and players say that it's just not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same pace. It's not the same energy. It's not the same effort. It's not the same. There's nothing like game reps. They had none together, and you started them together.
In times when they needed buckets, Mitchell scored. Because everyone did their part, everything went smoothly. Now contrast it with the Valkyries' performance, perplexing rotations. Players are not in their proper positions. A coach who can't take responsibility for her errors. Clark was compelled to play small forward off the ball when they had the opportunity to share minutes. McDonald attempted to run point alongside Clark when the squad most needed her. Hall was seated on the bench. The disparity is startling. The same guys who seemed invincible during their championship run now seemed disoriented and perplexed. The offense that had been so fluid stalled. The movement of the ball vanished. The chemical mixture dissipated. When Clark took charge of the attack in the third quarter, her influence was most apparent. 3 points were scored by her. Grabbing a rebound, she did so. She provided for assists. This demonstrated her capacity to support and encourage her teammates when given the chance. However, those times were far too seldom. The ability is present. Hull, Mitchell, Boston, Clark, and the rest of the group. When given the proper framework, these players have demonstrated that they are capable of competing at the greatest level. They have defeated the league's top clubs. They possess everything that makes them unique. However, talent is insufficient. On its own, the system must function. The coach must make wise choices. Players must be placed in advantageous situations. That isn't taking place at the moment.
In fact, we almost look worse like that. And my last warning that I would say to the Indiana Fever brass, this might come as a little bit of a low blow for you guys, but hey, it is what it is. In 2023, the Indiana Fever averaged 4,000 people in attendance for home games. 4,000 people. Do you want to go back to that or no? Just let me know.
The season has nearly reached its midway point. This group has what it takes to be exceptional. However, only if they choose wisely in terms of responsibility and leadership. There is a ticking clock. The skill is only waiting. The issue is whether those in authority will implement the required adjustments. There is still hope for the Fever's future in spite of this heartbreaking setback. There is no denying Clark's brilliance. She displayed moments of genius in her first game back, scoring 5 quick points and dishing out many assists. If given the opportunity, she can have a variety of effects on the game. Aaliyah, the success of this team still depends on Boston's progress. They have a starting point to work from because of her presence in the paint. Kelsey Mitchell's scoring prowess and experience provide them the crucial offensive spark they want. When the strategy is in place, Mitchell can make difficult shots and create shots. There is an opportunity to develop the ideal system around these outstanding athletes and produce something genuinely unique in the 2025 season. However, rather than making her players follow her system, the coach should create a system around them. If you believe that Coach Stephanie White is at blame, please let us know in the comments section below. Turn on all notifications, like, and subscribe to ensure you don't miss anything. After you click the video on the screen, we'll meet you in the following